Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, EA UFC 4 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, as you know, the last time I was talking about this game, it was connected to the closed beta, and I had mixed feelings when it came to the overall presentation. I appreciated some of the changes, but definitely hated a few, including the control scheme changes when it comes to takedowns and even the clinch. The clinch system has been reworked, redone, and to me, it's actually better in the actual game than it was in the beta. The feeling of progression or even degression when it comes to fights and struggles in the clinch are a lot better to me in the full actual game than they were in the beta. But I still have a big problem when it comes to the clinch system because it feels like it goes too fast. It moves and reacts a lot quicker than you would want it to. And the reactionary times that are needed, especially if you're on the defensive side of things, are really absurd. And the same goes when it comes to blocking takedowns. When you try to stuff a takedown, to me, it's nearly impossible. I was able to do it in practice, I was able to do it in training, but when it comes to actual fights, when it came to online, it was impossible for me. I don't understand, and this seems to be a constant criticism across the community when it comes to this game, that the takedown defense, especially in timing, the window is really absurdly short. I feel that the stand-up is just as good, if not better, than EA UFC 3. One of the main things I had to complain about when it came to 3 was the lag, that it felt like, the input lag. To me, UFC 4 has tremendously improved upon that. And I enjoy the stand-up game when it comes to this game a lot more than I did in UFC 3, even though I do like UFC 2's stand-up and general controls a lot more than 3 or 4. The ground is pretty much the same, especially if you change the legacy controls. That is the exact same ground operation control scheme that you would see in the previous EA UFC games, with a little bit of added ground and pound and posturing up abilities that definitely add some unique situations, especially if you're on the bottom and you try to sway your head, try to get out of the way of a shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's something that I will have to get used to, and I think a lot of other people will too. The stamina system is a huge flaw when it comes to this version. I know with every UFC game, it gets better as they update the game, but right now the stamina is absurd. I was playing online with a Demetrius Johnson player, and the way he was throwing punches and kicks was absurd, and he never got tired. I was overwhelmed. I could not implement any kind of strategy, try to pace myself at all, because it was just a lightning ball of fury, and that is beneficial because the stamina system doesn't really hinder you at all when it comes to just mashing buttons and being very reckless. To me, the submission system actually works a lot better in this version than in the beta. I thought that the submission system, even with the new sliders, with the joint submissions, or the wheel when it comes to choke submissions, wasn't very good at all in the beta. And to me, it's still not the best here. I really enjoyed the previous versions from 1, 2, and 3, but in terms of execution, it's a lot better in the actual game than it was in the beta. But what I really wanted to talk about when it came to these first impressions was the gameplay modes. This game has really scaled back on a lot of the modes that we've gotten used to from the last 2 EA UFC games. They announced earlier that Ultimate Team, which I thought was absolutely fantastic in UFC 2, and one of the things I continuously went back to. But in UFC 3, they added a more lottery-based system that to me ruined the whole premise of creating your own fighter and fighting up the ranks against other created fighters and players in UFC 2. They made it too luck-based in 3, and instead of trying to improve or even de-evolve and go back to what worked in 2, they just got rid of Ultimate Team altogether in UFC 4. When it comes to online, the only options are Quick Fight, which of course you just fight any random person that's online at the time, Blitz fights, which are these randomly changing situational fights, like one day you will have to fight players only in KO mode, or you will have to only be able to win with submissions. This situational based style gameplay that is okay, but I don't think it's going to be one of those things a lot of people are going to flock to. It actually took me a lot longer to find a fight in Blitz than I did in any of the other online options. And of course there's ranked mode, where you have to fight players around the world and hopefully become a UFC champion. They've actually scaled back the number of fights you need to win to get a title shot. Instead of 4, now it's only 3. But one of the biggest cuts and one of the things I hate the most when it comes to the online offering this time around is the fact that you are stuck playing whatever division the game dictates. Instead of being able to pick from any division that's available in the game and fight in ranked mode as you did before, now you are stuck playing whatever division the game sees fit. If I want to do a heavyweight fight, I will have to do quick fight, but I can't do it in rank unless heavyweight is already set by the developers in the game itself, which I think is a stupid move. It worked perfectly fine the way it was in the last 3 games. I don't know why they wanted to be restrictive this time around. One of my favorite modes when it came to UFC 2 and 3 was the live events mode. Not only the online portion, but also the offline portion. But with the removal of Ultimate Team, they apparently have removed live events as well. In EA UFC 2 and 3, for live events mode, you could actually play and do predictions with the upcoming fights that were happening during big UFC events. And depending on how well you did, how well you predicted, and of course how well you played, you could get card packs and coins that would help you in Ultimate Team. Unfortunately, with Ultimate Team gone, it appears they've gotten rid of live events mode. And that was one of my favorite modes in both UFC 2 and 3. Actually, it was one of the main reasons why I kept coming back to UFC 3. Solely offline, there of course is career mode, which I think a lot of people were hyped about. And after playing a few hours of it, I'm not necessarily that high on it. I'm perfectly fine with building your fighter, even though they have gotten rid of game face, which was a blessing, as you could put your face on any creative fighter, and for me it worked perfectly every time. Unfortunately, you have to create every fighter from scratch at this point, or just use some preset. After promoting career mode as this grandiose rehaul where you fight from the bottom to the top, a true rags to riches story, it seems like the first hour or so kind of emphasizes what they were talking about. And then after you get past that amateur point, it's just like almost every other UFC career mode where you just train and set up fights and then eventually fight and have some muted cutscenes that don't really do much to make you emotionally invested in the journey. It becomes only emotionally invested for you if you personally enjoy it, but if not, it's just another random string of fights that inevitably end when you take too much damage and have to retire. Also in the exhibition modes, there are knockout modes, stand and bang where you can grapple, and even custom fights that you can have. Custom events mode returns as well. A lot of what we've seen in the previous games is here once again, but there are some significant cutbacks, especially when it comes to the online offering, and of course Ultimate Team being removed, and from what I see right now, live events mode being removed as well. Overall, I had mixed feelings coming out of the beta, and once again, I still do. UFC 4 definitely feels like one of those games that fans of the franchise will enjoy, especially if you enjoyed UFC 3. But you won't get that fulfilling experience that, to me, was so rewarding in the past 2 UFC games, especially when it comes to the online components here. So I would suggest wait. I would either rent it or get it on sale and then go about my way. I could not really suggest anyone spending a full price on this game as of this time. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. EA UFC 4 for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, if you don't mind, I want to go back into the online realm. Hopefully I can knock out someone and maybe, just maybe, become a champion in the UFC world. But if not, I can just do it in career mode and make every opponent that I face shout out in terror. Oh lordy.